How's everyone going? It's Gaming with Stan, and today we're going to be talking about Mr. T, and his movie production. I know this has been a long requested video, and I'm sorry it's taken so long. Right now I'm going to talk about the first day of filming his movie. The first day we went out to film, Mr. T did not do a bag check. For you guys that don't know what a bag check is, it's basically you make sure all your gear is in the bag, so when you put your bags in the car or whatever, all the gear is there. So you don't have to say, "Hey, I don't have this lens, I don't have this microphone or this audio recorder." And that's what he did is he forgot his audio recorder, so we weren't able to record any good audio. So basically, we were only getting audio from the camera, the built-in microphone of the Panasonic GH4, which is not a bad microphone just for making like silly YouTube videos. If you're like very close to the camera, it's okay for YouTube, but nothing professional. It's a no-no. And I think I had my Tascam recorder, but it doesn't have a microphone in that recorder. It's a more of a professional level recorder where you can plug in XLR um, microphones with a cord, but he didn't even have an XLR microphone. So the first day we were filming the main actor, and one of his family members was on the set, and I believe the kid had a PS3 or maybe an Xbox 360. It was a karaoke um, game or something, and it had like USB microphones. And Mr. T, I think we tried to plug it into my Tascam. Maybe he had his laptop. I can't remember. It was a little bit of a long time ago. You're talking 2016. That he couldn't even get it to work. Maybe the microphone wasn't compatible with the Tascam or his MacBook Pro, but I think we were using a Tascam. So that day we did not have any good audio. And then that to be honest with you, not doing a bag check, that's very unprofessional. He was always talking about, like, when I would ask him something, he would say, "Oh, that's unprofessional." He doesn't even do a bag check. You know how much aggravation it is going to be for the actors to come back to his house or someplace else where it has to be very quiet, and they have to redub their lines. That's a pain. That's a pain nobody wants to deal with. And and then he blamed it on his kids. He's like, "Oh, you don't understand. You don't have kids." That's not an excuse to check for not checking your bag, especially when other people are relying on you to make sure things go smoothly. And at the time, I was shooting weddings. I still am shooting weddings, but I was shooting weddings, back then. And one of my pro lenses is the Olympus 12 to 40 f2.8 pro lens, and I was gonna let him use it, but I needed it, like, because we were filming his movie on Sundays, and I was letting him use it a little bit. And I was going to use some primes, and I had to get it back, and swapping lenses and so on. And I was just like, well, let me. I'll keep the pro lens, and I'll just bring it to him, on Sunday when he's shooting his movie. And then when I was at his house, he was like, "Oh, you don't have to come every day. We're only going to be filming some short clips here and there." And I kind of felt like he said that because he didn't want me on set. So he had a cheap kit lens, and I have two good small primes from Micro Four Thirds. The guys who don't know, it's Olympus 45 and the 25, and I do have the very very cheap 17 millimeter f2.8. There's another one that's better. That's the 1.7, but and then I let him have the Olympus kit lens. It's a cheap $100 lens, and he was completely fine with that. And it's not a good idea to really be switching lenses too much, because also lenses have different color characteristics. They can have different sharpness, you know, and I knew some of this stuff, but I didn't know how dramatically it could be. And that's why you don't want to be doing that type of stuff, especially without testing. He didn't want to test anything. He was just like, bring a camera and I'm going to shoot it. Even on the, I brought it my gear like a week before the filming, and he didn't want to check any of the color profiles, look up, the settings from, a lot of times people will film in like a neutral and natural profile, and they'll turn down the sharpness and the contrast and the saturation a little bit for editing and post. He didn't want to do any of that stuff. Nothing. No, he didn't want to do any of it. He's like, "Oh, just set up the camera and I'll shoot it." That's not really professional. So he doesn't really, get it. I mean, I understand he probably knows his own cameras, but when you're working with a new camera, it's a good idea to test it just a little bit before you go out and do a big job. Another problem with Mr. T was it was a martial arts movie. The trailer is out there on Facebook. Look up Destiny's Fighter or Destiny's Fighter if it's still there. Now, we went to the main character's karate dojo. The teacher there allowed us to film there, and Mr. T thought he could film a fight scene in an hour with no rehearsal, no nothing. Now, if you ever follow any of the film channels, there's one that's pretty popular. It's called Film Riot with Ryan, and he filmed a fight scene that's really good, like Born Identity, good quality. And he talked about it that he's never filmed a fight scene before, and he had to do some rehearsals, and he tried different lenses, telephoto, wide or whatever, and he found out that some lenses don't look that good, and it's a little weird. And he also said one of the other things that he was surprised about was, you may be there in real life, while you're there filming it, and it'll look, that looks really good. But when you bring it back to the computer, it does not look good. And the problem with that, he was talking about it is, you're seeing something in real life, but you're trying to display that on a two-dimensional screen, TV, and so on. And he said it, he was really surprised by that. But he did enough rehearsals to know what worked and what did not work. Now, the day of recording the fight scene, okay, it was 30 seconds. Okay? 30 seconds. I want you to understand that. A fight scene that was 30 seconds took 3 hours to film. Okay? 3 hours, if I remember that right. I'll try to find the video, leave it in the description box. That's what I remember. I watched it a long time ago. But that's a very long time to be filming something for 30 seconds. And Mr. T thought he could just walk right in there and film something. Now, what I want to talk about is filmmaking. Now, I'm not really into filmmaking anymore. But Van Diesel, when he made his first feature-length movie, and I forgot the name of the movie. It's a romance movie. It's like in his apartment, and it just takes place in his apartment. And I believe he did that because maybe he was really broke and that's all he could afford to do. It was an independent film, but it came out in theaters. It came out on DVD or VHS or whatever. And he sold it. Now, another movie is I think it's called For Lovers Only or something. Lovers Only. The actress from the TV show Castle, and I never really liked Castle. I'm not into those, stories solving the murder like NCIS and New York Undercover. I'm not into those shows. But she was in this movie, and they just went to France with the cameraman and her brother, and it was just three people, and they filmed the movie in France with the Canon 5D Mark II, which is an older camera, and they made that came out on Apple iTunes, and it made like $200,000. Now, of course, it did pretty well because they had a famous actress in it, but they made it low budget, and uh, they put it out there. It was a romance movie. You don't have to worry about special effects and all these other things. And that's what a problem with a lot of filmmakers they always have is they want to do Star Wars, or they want to do the Terminator, or they want to do some big blockbuster Indiana Jones movie, and they're not going to be able to pull that off, especially when they don't have any money. Okay, so you do the stupid romance movie that you probably don't even like. I'm probably maybe even Van Diesel doesn't even like romance movies, but he made a romance movie to get to the next level. So romance, or romantic comedy, something like that. If you're smart enough, you can still do science fiction, but you're gonna have to be really smart with your writing, where it's going to be more about the intellectual than like the special effects. And maybe you can do a few special effects here and there, but don't expect to be pulling off Star Wars or anything. And even the fans who make the best Star Wars fan films, sometimes those even look a little cheesy here and there. But those guys are very talented, but they're still working with a low budget. They're not working with Lucasfilm's budget or whatever that type of money. But it is what it is. So Mr. T, also kind of like pissed me off. I told him I wanted to do a documentary about the falling of physical media, but the uprise of retro gaming stores. And he's like, "Oh, I like that." He sent me a text like after his movie got canceled because the somebody where we were filming got sick and we couldn't film there anymore. And he had no backup plan to save the movie or anything. But I mean, you know, I said, he sends me a text. He goes, "I want to do your documentary." I call him, he wouldn't pick up the phone, nothing. It was kind of weird. And he wanted to borrow when we like the day wanted to come and pick up my gear and everything when the movie got canceled. Um, you know, he asked me to borrow if he could borrow one of my lights, and after like a month or two, I wanted to get it back because somebody else wanted to do something. I call him, I email him, I send him a text. He wouldn't even reply. Say I'll send it back to you. So I had to ask him on another Facebook account. And he's like, "Who's this?" He goes, "To me. I'd like to get my light back." He wouldn't even reply. He said, "Okay, I'll send it back to you." He just sends it back to me, and that's it. I gave that guy thousands of dollars of retro gaming stuff, and he's like, "Oh, my wife got mad." Well, you didn't have to take it. Okay, I was nice enough to give it to you, and you wouldn't even talk about the documentary. After your project got canceled. And this is the other thing that he doesn't even understand because he's not that bright. If you're working on a documentary, documentaries really don't get canceled. You could always pick up and do interviews with other people. Okay, it's not like on a set or anything like that. And documentaries are good because it shows that you started something and you finished something. And when you do try and sell it, you can go and try and make something else where somebody will give you bigger funding. There was one movie that I know that somebody pulled it off. I think it was the Civil War. It was a Frankenstein movie with some people. Some kid went back in time. That guy pulled it off, but it took him years and years to do the special effects, maybe like 2 or 3 years. And the guy was very, very skilled. I know Mr. T can do stuff like that, but I mean, you really have to have everything working for you. And he's a clown, and he's a joke, and I really don't respect him at all anymore. So that's it. Take it easy. Later, bye.